A very good morning to all the students. I hope every one of you is in a good health and all of you are doing well. So let's continue with the topic which we were doing in our previous lecture. We were doing chapter number 3 of our chemistry portion, and the chapter's name is Atoms and Molecule. So in the previous lecture we have read about the symbols. We have read about the symbols which were given by John Dalton. So John Dalton was the first scientist who used the symbols of the elements, and he used those symbols so that the chemical reaction would be easy to write, but they had one limitations because they were difficult to draw and little inconvenient to use. So these symbols are not used at all. So the IUPAC, that is International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, approves names of some element, and they also approve some symbols of the element which we have read in our previous lecture. So you have been given some symbols in your NCERT book also, and you can read and learn these symbols. All these symbols you have to learn. Okay, so these symbols have many significance because these symbols can be used as the short form of these names of the element, and these chemical symbols, they are used to describe the chemical change with the clarity, and they are just accurate, and they help to identify the specific element easily. They also represent the number of atoms in a particular element, and they also tells about the atomic masses. So by the end of this lecture we will be doing some significance of symbols. So today this was the topic which we have done already. So we will be starting new topic today, and along with that we will be learning about the significance of symbols. So first we'll start with the atomic mass. Since we all know that the atom has atomic mass and atomic number, and we have been discussing this for many times. Again, I would like to tell you, like, this atom is a sphere. So let's draw a sphere. So we would imagine that it's an atom. So atom is a sphere, and in the center of the atom there's a very little portion which is called as nucleus. So this nucleus is the smallest part in the atom, only the part in the atom which is dense. So rest all the atom is empty, it's just hollow, and all the this portion of the atom do not have any mass, since all the mass is comprised of the atom because of the proton and neutron. I have told you already that protons has positive charge in them and they have mass. So they have mass of 1 U. That means one proton has 1 U mass. Then comes neutron. Neutron have neutral charge. They don't have any charge on them. Neutral charge. Okay. But they do have mass. And again, one neutron has 1 U mass. That means 1 U mass. Then comes the electron. So since it is a nucleus, this is the small dense part in the atom. So the whole atom is empty, which we are saying it empty because although the electrons resides in the atom, but electrons are those part or those particle in the atom which do not have any mass on them. So electrons are negatively charged particle, but they do not have any mass. Do not have mass. So if they don't have any mass, that means weight. So we don't consider electron as any mass. So the mass of the atom, what is the mass of the atom? So the mass of the atom is only the mass of nucleus. Okay, so mass of atom is mass of the nucleus, and nucleus has proton plus neutron. So we can say that the mass of the atom is the sum of the mass of proton and neutron. So this is the atomic mass, and we'll read the definition here. The sum of the mass of the proton and neutron, or the mass of an atom, is known as the atomic mass. Now, this is the atomic mass. So what about atomic number? You would be wondering about, okay, we have a confusion here. Atomic mass, atomic number. So this is atomic number. Atomic mass is the weight. Mass means weight, and number means a number. So atomic number is the number of proton. in any atom. Okay, so atomic mass is the sum of the mass of proton plus neutron, and atomic number is the number of proton. Now, in any atom, there is a fixed number of proton always, and there is a fixed number of electron. For example, oxygen has 8 proton and it has 8 electrons. Okay, so protons are residing in the nucleus, and nucleus is safe. It is safe under so it's the center part, so it's very safe, and proton do not take part in any chemical reaction. They don't go anywhere, they just stay there in the center of the atom. But the electrons are so active, and electrons jump from one atom to the other atom, and electrons are the only particles of an atom which takes part in any chemical reaction. That means if atom react with the another atom, so electron is responsible for that reaction. So electron move from one atom to another atom to form ions. They can form positive ion, they can form negative ion. If any atom is gaining the electron or it's accepting the electron, so it is forming a negative ion. And if it is donating the electrons is moving out of the atom, it is forming a positive ion. So to form the ion, there is just the transfer of electrons, either gain or loss. But proton do not go anywhere, they just stay there in the atom. So the number of proton of any atom is fixed. So if oxygen has 8 proton, it will be 8 proton always. Doesn't matter if oxygen react with any other element or not. So the number of proton makes the atomic number, and it is a fixed number. So this is the atomic number and this is the atomic mass. I hope now it's clear. So when the scientists found the atomic mass, so it was again Sir John Dalton who found the atomic mass of any atom. So according to Sir John Dalton, he said that every element had a atomic mass and every element has a characteristic atomic mass. So his theory was based upon the law of constant proportion. So he was the first scientist to find out the atomic masses of the element. So for example, if you want to find out the mass of anything, like if you want to find out the weight of yourself, or if you go to a fruit seller, you want to have 1 kg of apples or 1 kg of tomato, you just ask him to give you 1 kg of tomatoes. So what he does, he has a weighing machine, and now you are seeing electronic weighing machine, but in the earlier time they were using a weighing balance. Okay, so in that weighing balance they used to keep some iron bar which has a fixed amount of number on it, like 1 kg, 2 kg, or even 5 kg and 10 kg, like that. So they had a specific number on that. That means they weigh to the specific number. So it's very easy for us to have 1 kg of apples or 1 kg of orange or anything else like that. But what if we want to take something which is so small, like it is so small that even the tiniest part of a sand grain is also a big in front of that. So atoms are so small that even if we compare it to a smallest tiny granule of sand, we can't measure it, we cannot see the atom. So it's very difficult for the scientists to find out the mass of that small atom. So to overcome this problem, they found a solution, that they compared the mass of the atom with the another atom. Okay, so they consider the mass of the atom with another atom. For example, they first took hydrogen. Now hydrogen is an element which has atomic number 1, and there are actually 3 mass numbers of hydrogen that we have discussed already, that is protium, deuterium and tritium. So this hydrogen is very small. So if we'll calculate the mass of the hydrogen, it would be so small that we have to write almost 27 zeros in front of the digit. That means it would be 1.673 into 10 to the power minus 24. In grams it would be minus 24, and in kgs it would be just 10 more. So here I've written the masses, like this is 27 minus 27 kg, and in grams it is minus 24 grams, because 1 kg 1 kg equals to 1000 grams. Okay, so 3 zeros more, so it's 27, and when it's in gram it's 24. That means before this it here would be 27 zeros, so it's a very less tiny mass, so we cannot calculate this mass easily by keeping any bar. So we just need any other atom to be so small as that of a hydrogen, so that we can compare the mass with the another atom. So scientists thought that hydrogen would be appropriate to use it as a standard mass. If we want to measure something, we had to fix some digits or some units. That means 1 kg, 2 kg, they are the whole numbers. But when in the terms of hydrogen, it was so small that scientists were not getting the whole number. So they thought that it's not a good idea. So they dropped this hydrogen as their standard mass to calculate the other masses. So they chose then oxygen actually. So oxygen was a very versatile atom, and it also reacts with many other atoms, many other elements very easily, and it forms oxides. So they took oxygen as the standard mass to compare, but then again oxygen forms the isotope, that is O16, O17, O18. So oxygen was also not very useful, because it almost combined with the most of the elements and forms compound, and but the atomic mass was in the whole number, so it was an idea. But then they came up with another idea, that they use carbon. So carbon was taken as an element, or the carbon atom was taken as a fixed atom to use as a standard mass. So they use a term called as relative atomic mass. So we are studying about relative atomic mass. Okay, so this is the topic. Now, what is relative atomic mass? Actually, the relative atomic mass, it can be defined as the fixed mass of any element which is compared to the mass of the carbon-12 atom. I will explain you how. Okay, now, like carbon has the atomic number 6. Okay, and carbon has a mass number 12. So in chemistry we write like this is X, and here we write A, and here we write Z. Okay, so this A represents the mass number, and X is this is carbon, this is the element, and here is the atomic number. Okay, so carbon has almost 15 isotopes, and isotopes I have told you already. Isotopes are those which has same atomic number but different mass numbers. That means they will be having same atomic number. All the isotopes of carbon will be having 6 as an atomic number, but they will be having different mass number, and different mass number happens because of the number of neutrons are not same in every atom. So there are 15 isotopes of carbon. So it can be from carbon 6, like carbon 8 to carbon 22. They are the isotopes of carbon. Out of these, the carbon 12 and carbon 13 are quite stable. These two are quite stable, and there's one more carbon. You would have heard that this carbon 14 is used as the radioisotopes, and it is used to detect the life of the fossils. Like if you have seen the movies like Jurassic Park, so they use carbon dating. So this carbon 14 is used as a radioisotope because it has a half-life. Half-life means the half-life of this will be 5,730 years is the half-life. So they took this carbon 12. So out of these 15 isotopes, the scientists took carbon 12 as a set atom to find out the relative atomic mass. So now this carbon 12 was taken as the standard. So what they did, if you take if you take a watermelon, for example, this is a whole watermelon, so we consider it as a carbon, like this is a carbon. So the scientists thought that it is carbon 12. So if they will compare it, they will take, like if you want to weigh, if you have only 1 kilo bar and you have to weigh 100 grams, so how you gonna weigh that? Can you weigh 100 grams with a 1 kg bar? No, you cannot. So they took this carbon 12 as a standard, and they cut 12 pieces. Like if you want to cut a watermelon into 12 pieces, okay, like this. So they cut it with the 12 equal pieces, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. And this one of the 12th, 1/12, this one portion they took as a standard atomic mass to compare the every other element. For example, like you are taking a watermelon and then you are cutting it into 12 equal halves, and then one half you're taking as a standard to measure every fruit. Like you are saying that one mango weighs to this one part of the watermelon, so they took this 1/12th part. If this is a carbon atom, so they cut the 12 pieces of this carbon atom. They didn't cut it, they just considered it, and then they took 1/12th part of the carbon atom. So the atomic mass, or the this relative atomic mass is the this is the one atomic mass unit, which is exactly 1/12 of the mass of an atom of the carbon 12. So you can write this in your notebook. I want you to make notes also. So the atomic mass, so first of all, atomic mass unit was first called as AMU. Okay, so previously it was AMU, but nowadays there is it is defined as the unified. U equals to unified atomic mass. They don't use atomic mass any, so we just write U at the last of every atom. Like we want to write the weight, so we write weight in U. So you would have read these atomic masses. So in your NCERT book they have been given the atomic masses of these elements. I want you to learn these elements, atomic masses of these elements, okay, and write in your fair notebook. So this is very important for you to learn, because you would be having some numericals. So if you don't know this, you won't be able to do the numericals. So you have to learn the symbols as well as the atomic masses and the atomic number of the elements which are given in your NCERT book. Okay, so this earlier scientists were using this AMU unit, which is called as AMU. Now this is an obsolete version, we don't use anymore this. So scientists use U, as it is called as unified mass just. So the atomic mass or atomic mass unit or unified mass equals to 1/12 into the mass of carbon 12 atom. That means 1U is 1/12 the mass of carbon 12 atom. So this is carbon 12 atom. So we will take one part of cutting the 12 parts, so that one part. So every single atom is measured with the help of this 1/12 part of the carbon atom. That means one atomic mass unit is defined as exactly, that means one atomic mass unit is defined as exactly 1/12 the mass of an atom of carbon 12. So this carbon 12 is the standard mass. So if we want to find out the mass of one hydrogen, it will be 1 equals to 1/12 mass of the carbon 12. If we want to find out the mass of magnesium, like a mass of magnesium is 24 U. So that means magnesium is 24 times heavier than 1 upon 12 of carbon 12. Okay, so this is the thing which is called as relative atomic mass. So relative atomic mass is just the technique of using the 1 upon 12 part of the carbon, because carbon 12 has been assigned to find the atomic mass of exactly the 12 atomic mass unit. So it is defined as the 1/12 mass of the atom of the carbon 12. After this, we'll move to the significance of the elements. So, of the significance of the symbols. So, the symbols are used to describe the chemical changes with precision. So that means if there is any chemical change in any reaction, so a compound is formed, and the compound also have a definite symbol or a formula. So it's easy for us to know that what that composition is. So it is very easy, and they describe the chemical changes with the precision and accuracy. So if it is like O2, that means oxygen has two atoms. Oxygen gas has two atoms combined in it. So that means they tell us the exact amount of the exact number of the atoms in any element or in any compound. Okay, so symbols help in the identifying the specific element. So if we know the symbols, it is very easy for us to identify the element. Like if we know the symbols, like Na means sodium, Al means aluminium, then it saves time and space. This is the most convenient thing. This is the main thing to form the symbols of the elements, because it saves time. So when there are chemical reactions, sometimes there are so many chemical reactions that so many pages or so many space is being filled to write the whole name of the elements all again and again, and it's not convenient for any scientist to write the name, because whatever they are performing in the laboratory, they need to mention in the paper also that what are they doing. So by reacting this element to this element, they get this element, and then again they will react some other elements, so they will get the next compound and all. So by using the symbols, it is very easy. That means it saves time and space, and to write the names, and it avoid the confusion again and again. So it's very important thing. So now symbol act as a vocabulary for the chemical language. So there is a chemical language, so symbols will be acting as a vocabulary, because vocabulary is the words which we use to speak any language. So for the chemistry language, symbols are very important. So they are like a vocabulary, and the symbols represent the name of the elements. So there are a lot of significance of the elements. So you just have to learn only 2 or 3. The idea is that you should know the significance of the symbols so that you can learn the symbols. So I need you to do all the things which have been asked you for the home assignment, so that you can go through the topic and you can understand the topic. I think the topic which I've taught today is clear to you people, and if you have any problem, any doubts, you can ask me. I can explain you again in my next lecture, and do your question and answers by yourself, and please upload it on the software. Till then, take care and study hard. Thank you.